Okay, hello my friends. My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to help you understand what's going on in the war in Ukraine. If you're looking for Ukraine war news, I do these daily. This is the daily brief. There are 1,140 Russians off the battlefield, 7 tanks, 19 armored combat vehicles, 53 artillery pieces, 75 vehicles, and fuel tanks. Now, I saw this. This is Meduza. They have counted. Now, they haven't counted everybody. So this number looks exceedingly low, but how do we make sense of this? Russian mortality data suggest over 64,000 troops killed fighting in Ukraine. But how do we reconcile that with what's going on here with 542,000 casualties? Well, part of this is it's a very difficult process to try to tabulate and just like find obituaries and things along those lines to be able to account for this. Recently published mortality data suggests that over 64,000 Russian men were killed fighting in Ukraine, according to a report by independent media outlets Meduza and Mediazona on June 28th. Mediazona, together with BBC News Russian, has been documenting the names of Russian soldiers killed fighting in Ukraine through open source research. So it's open source research. This is not the totality of it. This is what they have been able to document so far. Now, part of what's interesting about this is that you can see that there's an effect by, what's happening to Russian men as opposed to women, because it's almost exclusively men on the battlefield. Russia's female mortality rate helped create a benchmark for calculating the expected number of deaths among men, as women are almost completely absent in the names confirmed by Mediazona and BBC News Russian, Meduza said. The data shows sharply elevated excess mortality rate among young men relative to the situation before Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, with excess male mortality nearly doubled compared to 2022. So what are we to make of this? Well, first, we don't know exactly how many they don't know about. What I mean by that is they know about 64,000 killed Russian troops. It could be double, triple, maybe quadruple. We just don't know. But whatever it is, let's round up. Let's say that they don't know about a third. Okay, so that'll bring it up to 100,000. And then you have to look at casualties that are going to be roughly 3 times that, maybe. And that would bring it up to at least 400,000. And that's bringing it pretty close. So I think there's something very useful here, but we just don't know how many they don't account for. That's just Russia, right? We don't know how many came from the occupied territories fighting on the Russian side, or maybe there were imports from other places, mercenaries or that sort of thing that are not counted, or what have you. Okay, so let's go on. Andrew Perpetua's numbers: 59 Russian to 20 Ukrainian, so about 3-to-1 losses. But again, when I show this, I'm only showing a rough cut. If you want to see a breakdown of this, generally ATP Geopolitics does a really good job, Johnny Pierce, of talking about the specifics of it. I just kind of say, hey, here's the big picture, and then I move on. Russia claims 2 more East Ukrainian villages. So here we're talking about Russia's defense ministry said that its forces had liberated the settlements, generally liberating means destroying, of Novolysk-Andriivka, as the Russian army pushes further west into the Donetsk region. Where is that? That's over here. That's where this city is. It's above Orokny, or if I'm pronouncing that right, probably not. Ochorekny. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Moscow also said its forces captured a small village of Spurny, further north of the Donetsk region, near the border with the neighboring Luhansk region. Okay, where is that? That one's over here. See, Lyman's over here, or Liman, and so yeah, that's here on the edge of. Then they're just trying to push further and further west. Okay. So the British intelligence reports talks about Vovchansk, Kharkiv. The fighting is focused in this one narrow area. Chasiv Yar, there's no confirmed reported advances. And around Donetsk, Russian forces have made further advances. Avdiivka it remains a sector that's most probable Russian main effort. And so I'd keep my eyes on there. Now, beyond what's going on the ground, you also have, missiles and bombs and things along those lines. So Zelensky calls for more air defenses after the latest deadly Russian strikes on Ukraine. Well, what happened here? Ukrainian officials released photos showing bodies covered with picnic blankets in parks in Vilnius, a town near the southern eastern city of Zaporizhia. Our cities and communities suffer from such Russian strikes daily, Zelensky wrote on the Telegram message app after the strike on Vilnius. Ukraine needs the necessary forces and resources to destroy the carriers of these bombs. Clear decisions are needed to protect our people. Long-distance strikes and modern air defenses are crucial to halting daily Russian terror. If I'm not mistaken, 7 were killed here in total. At least 15 civilians were killed and more than 37 injured in missile attacks on the east and south of Ukraine on Saturday and overnight. And where are we talking about? That's here in this city. That's where the focus of this was. Now, this week alone, Russia used over 800 guided aerial bombs against Ukraine, Zelensky has reported. And I think that this was a great comment by Andrew Perpetua. Every day that passes without NATO providing Ukraine with the cruise missiles needed to destroy Russian infrastructure or to go after things that are allowing this to happen is a day that Western leadership brings itself closer to a major war with Russia. Now, there's two dueling perspectives here. One is that anything that the U.S. does that arms Ukraine and amplifies this brings us closer to war with Russia. And I don't think that that's true. I think what's true is that anything that we don't do in order to help Ukraine prevail and beat Russia back brings us closer to war with Russia. But again, those are the narratives that will play out in public. I was talking about this just yesterday. The Ukrainians aren't allowed to hit an airfield that they know that they can hit because while it's 200 kilometers and they can hit it with ATACMS, they're not allowed to use the ATACMS to hit it. So you have no Russian airfields right across the border, but you have lots of Russian airfields all out here, and it's like the Russians are just like, they're not going to hit us. Now they can send drones, but the drones are not nearly as effective as the ATACMS. Jane Kiev writes, we can no longer deny that the U.S.'s insane policy of forbidding Ukraine from striking all but a small strip of Russian territory is designed to protect Russia's bomber fleets, the bombers that rain death on Ukraine cities every day. That's what's happening, and that's just the policy, and there we are. Okay, meanwhile, HIMARS strike the operators of Russian Zala and Lancet UAVs, and that was documented. Luhansk, the occupied Ukraine, is still being liberated with the help of HIMARS, but those are happening inside of the borders of Ukraine, and that's not the same as going after the airfields that are housing the bombers that are attacking Ukraine from Russia. Here's another view of the same thing. Propagandists report that the strike targeted a concentration of Russian troops. The video author's reaction captures the full power of the strike, but I'm not showing the video. I'm just trying to explain what's going on in context. Meanwhile, there's a hybrid war, and we know that that's the case, and I've been talking about it for the last few days. And if you're not subscribed, I do these daily, and please consider subscribing so you can get a context day over day. But here's footage of Vietnam bot farm that has leaked online showing thousands of accounts posting comments and content. Remember this video the next time you argue online. You might be arguing with an electronic bot that doesn't even know that you're arguing. Thank you, my friends. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.